This is Small Biz Florida, the podcast designed and produced specifically for Florida small business owners and entrepreneurs. Small Biz Florida, talk that works for Florida. This podcast is supported by the Florida SBDC Network, providing the tools, strategies, and expertise to help Florida's business community thrive. Visit the Florida SBDC online at www.floridasbdc.org or contact your local office and get started on your path to success today.
This is Small Biz Florida, the podcast and broadcast that's all things business across the state of Florida. I am Tom Kindred, your host for Small Biz Florida. And we have got one of our favorite partners and collaborators with us today. We've got our very good friend, Zoraida Velasco, who serves as the Executive Vice President of FloridaMakes. We love FloridaMakes. I mean, you guys do incredible work in representing, in promoting, in supporting, in providing resources and assistance to Florida's manufacturing community. So we appreciate all that you do.
Thank you.
And we are here today to talk about not only how much we like FloridaMakes, but we are here to talk about one of our favorite annual events that Small Biz Florida will be attending and working. It is your annual MakeMore Summit taking place in October of this year.
Correct, October 25th and 26th.
Nice. All right, so let's talk about, I guess, as we always do, Zoraida, just a little bit of background on yourself and maybe your pathway to FloridaMakes.
Sure. Thank you, Tom, for having me. So I have been at FloridaMakes for almost 7 years. My background is in economic development and in government. I help manage at FloridaMakes the strategic partnerships for the organization, our government and legislative affairs, and all of our marketing and communications. We as FloridaMakes are what's called the Manufacturing Extension Partnership. The MEP for short is a program out of the National Institute for Standards and Technology that is funded by U.S. Department of Commerce. And so there is a center like ours in every state of the union and in Puerto Rico. And the goal of the program is to increase productivity and technological performance of the manufacturing industry in the U.S. We do that here for Florida. And basically it's what do we need to do to grow and retain that industry in our state so that it continues to prosper. And
I guess, as we talk a little bit about manufacturing in Florida, it hasn't always been this way, right?
Correct.
I mean, Florida, for I guess the best part of its history really was about tourism, about agriculture. So manufacturing is sort of kind of new to the marketplace in Florida. Is that a fair statement?
It's always been here, Tom, but I think it's new because it's now more popular. Ever since the pandemic, people have actually realized how important manufacturing is to the economy. And so it has started to bubble up with all the supply chain issues and everything that unfortunately the pandemic brought, but fortunately to our industry has given us a way to highlight its benefits.
And again, I think it matters, and I think it's important to note FloridaMakes, your organization, because if it weren't for an organization such as yours that provides leadership and exposure for all this, we might still not understand the importance of manufacturing. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even though I'd like to take all that credit, it's a work of the ecosystem, and we've been trying to facilitate it, but it's really having the state come to the table, having the local governments come to the table, and all of the local providers like the SBDCs and your Career Source Floridas to make sure that manufacturers' needs are being met.
Right. And then talk a little bit about how this whole thing is structured in the state of Florida. FloridaMakes is kind of the umbrella organization, and then you have all these regional manufacturing associations. Is that correct?
That's right. So we have built a network of regional manufacturers associations across the state. There's 14 of them. in major metropolitan areas for the most part. In lower density regions, more rural regions, there is no regional association. We still serve as those areas. The difference there is that the percentage of employment is high in terms of manufacturers being employers in those regions. So it's a big industry for the rural areas that we still support through our services. But the regional associations are standalone entities. Some of them have been around longer than Florida Makes, but they serve as our conduit to get to those manufacturers and to deliver our services.
And in terms of manufacturing across the state of Florida, there's everything from, small manufacturers, maybe 5 employees, up to major manufacturing, 500 employees. Is that kind of a fair overview of what the market looks like in terms of manufacturers?
Yeah, in Florida, you've got your Boeings and your Lockheeds and your Johnson & Johnsons and your Mitsubishis, right? Your house name brands, if you will.
Right.
But actually, out of the over 24,000 establishments we have in Florida, 80% of them have 20 or less employees.
Wow.
And so that takes the average size of a manufacturer in Florida to 17 employees.
Wow.
So majority are small businesses.
They really are. Truly small businesses, right? Wow. And again, just where I'm from, the Treasure Coast area, it's we're kind of reflective of what's going on in the state. We really are seeing more manufacturing operations come up around our area too. So again, thank you for the kind of giving us a high-level overview of what manufacturing looks like in Florida. And again, we just appreciate all that you do at Florida Makes, and we certainly appreciate the partnership in terms of small business support and resources. That's what we do every day. So the most important thing we want to highlight and talk about today is your upcoming MakeMore Summit. How many years have you been doing the summit?
We have been hosting it since 2018.
Wow.
Except for 2020, that didn't happen for anybody.
Of course, yes. A lot of people always have the asterisk on 2020. We've been fortunate enough. I think we've been to the last 3. I think we were at the Grand Cypress, then we were at the Lake Nona, and we're going to be there this year. So talk about this year's MakeMore Summit. Where, when?
So the summit is an annual thought leadership event that brings together the manufacturing ecosystem. And the hopes with the conversations is that we're going to help strengthen Florida's manufacturing sector and identify solutions for that sector. The conversation tends to be more of a roundtable discussion. We try for it to purposely be that way instead of just us presenting information to the audience. It will take place on October 25th and 26th at the Dr. Phillips Center for the Performing Arts in Orlando. The website to register for the event is FloridaMakemore.com. And registration is now open for...
Nice. And give me kind of a sense of who your textbook attendee is. Who should be at this conference or this summit?
So the summit this year, the theme is Unleashing Digital Transformation. And we target always, obviously, the manufacturer should be at the event, but primarily who we want in the conversation, aside from the obvious, is your stakeholders for the industry, right? So individuals that are considered thought leaders in manufacturing, technical providers, elected officials, economic development, workforce development, your third-party providers that are, servicing manufacturers. Because the idea is, we can talk all day about how great Florida is doing and Florida's manufacturing is doing, but there's still things, because the majority of those companies are small businesses, that these manufacturers aren't getting, because oftentimes they don't have time to even lift their head up and figure out what they're missing, right? And so what can we do as an ecosystem to bring solutions directly to them instead of waiting for them to come knock on our doors? And
I think that's an interesting take on your attendee. I never thought of it that way, but to bring in those stakeholders, again, for them, it's, I guess it's some education, knowledge exchange, exposure to manufacturing for them too that they may not understand that may be taking place right in their own marketplaces.
Correct. Oftentimes, especially, unfortunately, elected officials oftentimes will meet with them and they'll say, "Oh, there's no manufacturing here."
Right.
Because it's hidden, right? It's warehouses. You have no idea what's going on inside of them until you actually step into a manufacturing facility and realize what's happening.
Right. No, excellent point. Okay. Talk a little bit about, now I know your agenda schedule is still kind of a work in process, which it always is. So we've got some time before we can look at the details. But again, it's 2 days, October 25th, 26th. What is that? That's a Wednesday and a Thursday, I think.
Correct.
Yep. And how does one register? Where can they find out a little more about the summit at this point?
So more information can be found at FloridaMakemore.com. The word Florida is spelled out. And, if there's people who are interested in submitting proposals for speakers, the theme is technology in general. We have a tab on the website called Speakers, and there's a form there for proposals, and our steering committee will then review them and make decisions on the content.
And, you talked about the theme, which is unleashing digital transformation this year. And I remember last year, your theme was all about talent. Mm-hmm. I mean, you had some incredible speakers last year. I know, Jerry, and I'm drawing a blank on his last Hefner. Mm-hmm. Jerry Hefner was a speaker, just phenomenal speaker. Talked about hiring practices and recruiting talent. We had him on as a guest on Small Biz Florida, and it really was a great presentation. There's the Employer of Choice Award that I think is going to be handed out at the MakeMore Summit. That's an incredible tool that every manufacturer should be participating in across the state of Florida.
Yes.
And I think you can also access all that on your website.
Correct. All those details are there. We'll be celebrating the Employer of Choice. We'll be celebrating the Bob Perlottola Manufacturing Leadership Award. We'll be celebrating the Manufacturers of the Year awardees that have been awarded throughout the state in their respective regions. And we'll be celebrating the Grow FL's Florida Companies to Watch honorees. And finally, the Florida Advanced Technological Education Center, FLATES, awardees. We're doing an awards luncheon this year, so it'll be a little bit more formal than last year because of the venue is a little larger.
Okay. What kind of attendance do you normally get? I mean, I think there was at least, 200-300 last year? Mm-hmm. Sure.
And we purposely don't go past that.
Okay.
And so our target is usually anywhere between 2 and 250. Last year we had 270 some attend because we truly want this to be a conversation. We want people to be able to walk away and feel like they can go back to their communities and work on something with people they've connected there with. And then actually after the summit, we did this year for the first time. We are hoping we'll be able to do this next year as well, is the Make More on the Road series. And so if you miss the summit in October, we will be taking a version of this conversation to the regions across the state through our partnerships with the regional manufacturers associations. Nice.
It is Zoraida Velasco, who serves as the executive vice president for an incredible organization called FloridaMakes. It is all about their upcoming FloridaMakes MakeMore Summit, which will take place October the 25th and 26th in Orlando. Again, one more time, Zoraida, just how does one find the conference? How does one register? Because sounds like seats are limited, so we better get registered now.
Yeah, so the website is FloridaMakemore.com. If you have any questions, you could email events@FloridaMakes.com. And you've got all the information you need there to register. If you're interested in sponsoring, there's a sponsor tab. If you're interested in speaking, there's a speakers tab. But you can always contact us if you have any questions.
Thank you. Thank you for taking time out with us today and for making the time to come right here to our studio at Indian River State College here in St. Lucie County. And talking about the upcoming conference, the upcoming summit. It is always an incredible event. Excellent opportunity to network, to learn valuable information, and to take home some information that can help you improve operations and for your hometown manufacturer.
Correct. Thank you for having me, Tom.
Absolutely. This is Small Biz Florida. Stay tuned. It won't be long, and we'll be coming to you from the 2023 Florida Makes MakeMore Summit. But for now, always stay tuned. There's more to come. This is Small Biz Florida.
This has been Small Biz Florida, created and produced by the Florida Small Business Development Center at Indian River State College. Your host for Small Biz Florida is Tom Kindred. Partners for Small Biz Florida include WPSL and WSTU and Indian River State College, named the 2019 winner of the Aspen Prize for Community College Excellence.